Trust Limited, East Cantonment Pharmacy Limited. And also say a big thank you to the Ministry of Health and to the Honorable Minister himself, who has been gracious to share the time with us. We say thank you very much. The ministry has indeed endorsed this event, and we are very appreciative of that gesture. Thank you all, and once again, welcome.
Please, he's my boss. You don't have to shortchange him on the applause. My promotion depends on it. A round of applause for my boss. Okay, so we'll now take some remarks from the FDA, and to do that is the Head of Communications and Public Education at the Food and Drugs Authority, Mr. James Lartey. A round of applause for Mr. James Lartey.
Thank you. Thank you very much. First, let me say my CEO was supposed to be here herself, but unfortunately, she traveled. She thought she could make it, but she couldn't. So very sorry for that. FDA, as we are all aware, is an institution mandated to ensure the protection of the general public with respect to products that we regulate. And we are talking about food, drugs, cosmetics, medical devices, household chemicals, tobacco products, and other products. And I'm sure you all agree with me that looking at the products that the FDA regulates, at least on daily basis, every single Ghanaian will use a product that is regulated by the FDA. And that tells you that our mandate to ensure the protection of the general public is very key and very, very necessary. We've had so much support from the Ministry of Health, the Minister, and the government to ensure that this work is done and is done very well. When my CEO was given the invitation, she was told to speak in areas about new things that the FDA has done to ensure the protection of the general public. And I'll mention a few to you. The first one I will talk about is this. Recently, the FDA opened a laboratory at the Tema Harbour. The main reason why this laboratory was is to ensure that products that come in are checked randomly to ensure that when they get onto the market, the general public is protected as in things that they consume. Another area that we've come in is recently you hear that every single advert that you hear on the airwaves in connection with FDA regulated products ends with the phrase vetted and approved by the FDA. This thing was introduced to ensure that every single advertisement, food, drugs, cosmetics, medical devices, household chemicals, and all other products that we regulate are checked. I'm talking about the advertisements. They are checked to be sure that the general public is not deceived. Unfortunately, there are times that you hear persons mentioning some diseases and one product dealing with numerous ailments. And one wonders whether truly this has been approved by the FDA. These are all measures to ensure that these things are checked so the general public is protected. One other area that the FDA has introduced is when, for instance, you go to supermarkets. We have given a directive that because of the government's aim to promote made in Ghana goods, the supermarkets should have a special place allocated for made in Ghana goods. So when you enter into a supermarket, you go to a place where you realize that only made in Ghana goods are displayed. And this is an initiative to ensure that made in Ghana goods are promoted. You'll be surprised. You see some of these products on the shelf and you wonder whether this was actually done in Ghana. Looking at the way they are packaged, the way they are presented, and that tells you that Ghana, is going very far. And we need to do everything we can as an organization to promote these initiatives by the government to ensure that made in Ghana goods are well promoted in Ghana. I'll also mention some few other things. FDA currently is an institution that has been accredited ISO. And when I talk about accredited ISO, we have been placed at a level that our systems that we have in place at the end ensures that everything is to protect the public. So when you go into our administrative activities, when you go into our technical activities, everything is done in a way to ensure the protection of the public. And this accreditation was done by SGS. That's an international organization. And FDA is actually the only government institution under the Ministry of Health that have received this accreditation, that's ISO accreditation. When you come to our laboratory, the lab has also been given an accreditation to the extent that everything we test here is recognized internationally. So that, for instance, WHO could have a problem in a country on something that is being investigated. Samples could be picked from that place, brought to Ghana, FDA, for it to be tested. Once we test and we say that the product is good, WHO accepts that this is good. So internationally, it is accepted. And because of this international accreditation that we have received, people from different countries, I'm talking about regulators, we've had people from different countries all over the world that are brought to FDA to be trained, especially in the area of regulation and post-market surveillance activities. So this is another area that FDA is doing to ensure that we give a good name to this country. Another area I want to mention has to do with our post-market surveillance activities. Recently, that was somewhere last year, 2018, the Minister of Health brought out an executive instrument directing that codeine containing cough syrups are banned in the country. And this was done to ensure that the youth who were abusing it could be curtailed. Just about some few weeks ago, through our PMS activities in connection with SEPS and other institutions, 3 people have been arrested. It was in the news today, where they tried to smuggle into this country this codeine containing cough syrups. Because it's no more allowed, people are trying to smuggle it. But through PMS activities, in connection with other agencies, these people were arrested. One is currently being prosecuted. The other person, well, after his arrest, he managed to run away. And the third guy has been fined. He was fined because he's a Ghanaian, but owns a South African passport. And we realized that going into prosecution, jurisdiction was going to create a problem for us. For we took a decision that let us institute what we call an administrative fine on this person, but the other guy is under prosecution. So these are some of the things that we are doing. FDA on daily basis will bus about 90 staff onto the market. They'll be taken by 3 buses, released at different vantage points to enter into different shops, whether it's supermarkets, pharmaceutical shops, retailing places, all to ensure that products that are being offered for sale are not unwholesome, and that these products will end up protecting Ghanaians or every consumer. So these are some of the other things that the FDA is doing. Permit me to just mention some few other things. Recently, the FDA has introduced what we call pictorial health warning on tobacco products. And let me just make a brief comment on that. Tobacco, we are all aware, is a dangerous product. But because of international agreement, it is something you cannot ban. So as a government or as a nation, you have to put in measures that will ensure that the youth will have an information that will keep them away from these products. Initially, it was introduced through the package. Where you pick the package, you read the written tobacco kills. But well, despite tobacco kills, people are still running for it. Other things were introduced, as in taxes and all those things. We decided that some people are illiterate, and pictorial talks a lot, pictures. So let's introduce pictorial health warning, where when you see the cigarette, you see the pictures on it giving you a warning that if you take this, this is going to happen to you. So well, if you see fire and you decide that this is fire, I still want to go into the fire, you have been well informed. So we have done everything we can as an institution to ensure that people are protected. When you travel and you arrive at Kotoka, you notice for recently, what happens is that it will be announced that when you get down, do not smoke at the airports because it's a smoke-free area. You are not supposed to smoke. So look for a designated place. This was an effort to protect the people that we call secondhand smokers. Where, for instance, I don't want to smoke, you are a smoker, I get to this place, because of your smoking, I am affected. We want all those people protected. So these warnings were given, and now we don't allow people to smoke in public. And this is something that we are checking in public places. Let me also mention some, please just permit me to mention some few other ones that we have done. Again, when you come to the area of market surveillance, what we are doing is that FDA have started doing a lot of public education. We are not just doing this public education through forum where maybe we organize workshops and things. No. We are going into schools now. We go to churches. We go to marketplaces. We go to, open markets and a whole lot of places just to ensure that we do education for people to understand some of the things that will ensure their protection as consumers. And I will say that since we started this, we have been having a lot of information from the general public. Where people will go to places, they'll notice things that were happening, they'll just call the FDA, inform the FDA, then the FDA will take an action. And then something will be done about that situation. And all these things is to ensure that the general public is protected. FDA has also recently introduced things like what we call WhatsApp number, Twitter, Facebook accounts, and some few other lines through which the general public could reach us, including hotlines and toll-free line. And we have done all these things to ensure that the general public will consistently and constantly give us information. They will act on that information. You see, we are a regulatory institution, and we'll admit that we are not everywhere. Sometimes someone will be changing expiry dates on products. Let me tell you this story before I continue. About some few years ago, FDA had an information about a woman at Okanshi Jessie. The business that the woman does is to change the expiry date of products. So what she does is, she'll go around, if you have products that are about 2 days, 3 days to expire, She'll buy them from you very cheap. She's employed services of an expert artist, has a very big warehouse, bring the products in, and they change the expiry date to the extent that you as a consumer and FDA as a regulator cannot even identify that the expiry date has been changed. What happened? It was through a media guy who called the FDA and told the FDA that we have had this information about a woman in this practice. FDA called in the police. We went together to the premises at Okanshi, and to our amazement, you could see things, toffees, cornflakes, biscuits, sardine, mention them, a whole lot of products whose expiry dates were being changed. And if this gentleman had not informed us, there was no way the FDA could have done anything about it. We work with time. I have other things, but let me say that FDA is there to ensure the protection of the general public. And we did do this every time, anywhere, anytime. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. James Lartey. Mr. James Lartey is the Head of Communications and Public Education of the FDA. Another round of applause for Mr. James Lartey, please. I'd like to remind you that if you're listening to us on radio, this is Joy 99.7 FM. We're coming to you live from the National Theatre, where we're bringing you the second edition of the Joy Business, Health and Wellness Trade Show. In a moment, we'll be hearing from our guest of honor, the Honorable Health Minister, who has taken time off his busy schedule to join us. But I'd like to remind you that this program is sponsored by New Crystal Health Services Limited, growing together in good health, Health Link Healthy Man and Woman from Pharma Trust Limited, East Cantonment Pharmacy, quality service simply delivered. And this program is endorsed by the Health Ministry. We now hear from our guest of honor, the Honorable Minister, Mr. Kweku Agyeman-Manu. A round of applause for Mr. Kweku Agyeman-Manu.
Thank you very much. Colleagues on the high table, distinguished invited guests. Let me first of all thank Joy FM or Joy Business for this innovative way of trying to market what is in health for the general public to have a look at and to see how the public itself can also help itself to support what effort government is making. The whole world is now zooming in on what they call UHC, Universal Health Coverage. And they have added a cliche, leaving no one behind. What does it mean to those of us in this country? I keep on telling them at the international fora, places that Ghana is invited to, that we started talking about universal health coverage the way they are talking now on the globe. As far back in the history of our country, not just now, but some time ago. The two main things they are talking about is financial risk protection, removing all barriers to access for everybody for healthcare. Then we are talking about concentrating efforts on what they call primary healthcare, because that seems to be very easy to achieve in every country. And I tell them that these things Ghana started so many years ago. Across the sub-Saharan Africa, apart from South Africa, no other country has successfully introduced health insurance the way we have it. And we started 2003. Again, Ethiopia came to learn primary healthcare issues from our country. But they have taken the lead ahead of us. And if someone will permit me to quote, they are in a comfortable lead when it comes to providing primary healthcare services. But definitely Ghana is not behind so much away from what other countries are doing with primary health care. Now we have deepened our efforts through the introduction of the CHIP compounds, and year in, year out, though investments wouldn't allow us to do so much, but we are moving gradually towards achieving what the world wants us to achieve. Universal health coverage means that access without barriers, without financial barriers, without geographical barriers, and demographic barriers, so that wherever you live in the country, what type of person you are, you should have access to health care. Then we talk about quality of the care that we receive. Again, government's efforts is that this should be equitably distributed across the country, so that wherever you are, services that are provided should have the same quality standards as somebody living in the major cities, where we seem to have a lot of concentration with healthcare facilities. Not only this, we're also talking about people having access to medicines that are not counterfeit, that are not fake drugs. And government is making all efforts through our regulators, with FDA leading, to make sure that we have what it takes to be called medicine in our country. We haven't succeeded yet, but Ghana is not the only country. Even in America, we still cite fake drugs. Close to us is even worse. And like he said, our porous borders doesn't even give us room to be so efficient that we cannot trace some of these on our markets. When we talk about primary health, universal health coverage, strategies, I've mentioned a few. Primary health care issues, health insurance issues, to do financial risk protection. But there are a few new things that we need to do. And that is why I was congratulating the Joy Business team. Joy Business. We need to do partnerships. And these partnerships should be innovative partnerships, not the traditional old things that we do. Government has been talking about partnering the private sector, but we still don't see massive private sector investments into areas where government will wish that these investments are there. Government will continue to play its traditional roles, basically providing infrastructure, putting in trained workforce, making sure we have adequate things in there to be able to do what we call quality care. No government will stop this, but we need to partner and hold hands with other stakeholders, and especially the private sector and development partners. We turn ourselves around, and we are seeing innovative ways that private sector is trying to push itself into the health sector. And government is encouraging quite a number, and a lot of them. The sector of pharmaceuticals, government is continuously trying to support private individuals to invest and manufacture some of the medicines that we procure from outside in country, so that we can have access to cheaper and more efficient drugs that will help our healthcare provision. So this effort by Joy Business is one of those innovative partnerships that we think that will help our way forward to achieve universal health coverage. Like I said, government will continue to provide infrastructure, put in trained manpower, and continue to support our regulators. Government is the only institution that actually ensures that there is regulation in the health sector. So we have the agencies that regulate efficiency in terms of manpower and try to take out fake people who go in to pretend that they are what it takes to try to provide health services. We have agencies that regulate medicines, that regulates the sale of medicines and manufacturing of medicines. We have agencies that do a lot more to try to make sure that there is sanity within the health sector. All these things we do for the benefit of our citizens, including you and me. And I believe it is time, if you are talking about innovative partnerships, we partner ourselves as citizens that are receiving health care being provided either by government or the private sector or by quasi-government institutions. What do we do? Feedbacks are things that we need. When you go and you're being treated a way that you don't think you need to be treated that way, let us hear about some of these things. Some of us just go straight to the media, but in some instances, the minister might not be listening to a particular radio station that you are pouring out. Some of us will sit on the radios as presenters and we talk and talk and talk. But the question is that at that particular time that you are talking, a very good suggestion is the minister or a director in the ministry listening to your station. So some of these things should come to us officially. Either write to us, book an appointment with us, come and talk to us, so we will know what to do and how to tackle some of these challenges. These are things that we encourage the public to do for us. So we know where we are failing, we will know where our faults are, we will know where challenges are, and see how best we can tackle them. I believe within the next 2 days, we're going to see innovative ways of trying to provide healthcare, from technology to medicines to whatever. What I don't know yet is how many Kenyan entrepreneurs are on this exhibition and how many things we are bringing from outside to market for the benefit of people outside. When I say benefit of people outside, they manufacture, they bring them here, we buy them, and they take their money away. They won't put our young men and women who are unemployed in their factories out there. So it is time for us to begin to see how best we can also encourage people to manufacture, to give ourselves jobs, to consume what we ourselves are producing instead of always buying from outside. I don't think I want to continue to talk and talk and talk. I would like to end here. But I will take the singular honor to declare this exhibition officially opened. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Shall we put our hands together one more time for Mr. Kweku Agyeman-Manu? I'd like to remind you once again that we're coming to you live from the National Theatre. My name is Nicholas Opoku, and we're live on Joy 99.7 FM. If you're watching us on TV, you're live on the Joy News channel on Multi TV. Now that the event is officially open, we'll get to the foyer and cut the tape. And then when we come back, we'll have a panel discussion on how we can leverage technology to ensure sustainable growth of the healthcare sector. Thank you all very much for your time. This is the second Joy Business, Health and Wellness Trade Show. Thank you all for your time. So I'll kindly ask that for them to come.
kakuma Nimpanwa no yano Tubu na Mongan Mongan dumpim Jasie na kumo Joy 99.7 FM Lumbanum Mahenram Rami DJ na kumo Bami nyum manko kami Lumbanum Mahenram Rami Basana mi Ke sa nyum yidia Ke Emma yarisa Ke Ono mwa yarisa Ke sa nyum yidia Ke Emma yarisa Ke So mwa yarisa Oh Tumakata ni masua Oh